1 minute. The House Chairperson.
Good morning. There will be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 8, National Treasury State Security Appropriation Bill.
Thank you. We recognize the Honorable the Minister in the Presidency. Is it a coded speech? Honorable Minister, you must switch on the mic also.
I'm saying Honorable House Chair, I'm trying to remove the password, it's password protected. And then, so that's my slight challenge, but yeah. Oh. Can you see? Okay. We are good, that's fine. Thank you.
On a point of order, House Chair.
Honorable Ntlangweni.
I hope the minutes are running as, because that is a minute that she's trying to find a speech. I don't know from where, from Stellenbosch or from where.
Oh,
So while she's
Yeah.
finding it from Stellenbosch or from Lituli House.
yeah.
That's also
No,
right.
thank you, Honorable Ntlangweni.
From underground,
Thank you.
ground criminality, we wouldn't know.
Thank you. Look, all of you who've been at the podium will know the minutes only start running when the speaker at the podium starts speaking. But Minister, that doesn't mean that you can keep us here for 10 minutes whilst you find the password. So please proceed.
Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, Honorable Sylvia Lucas Isaacs, Honorable members of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, my deputy ministers, Deputy Minister Morolong and Deputy Minister Mhlaul, the Acting Director General of the State Security Services, Ambassador Tony Gep Msimanga in absentia, and today's Acting Director General of State Security Services, Mr. Sintumode Ramabudana. The top management of State Security Agency, the Acting Coordinator of the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee, NICOC, Dr. Dandazo Sifulo, the Inspector General of Intelligence, Mr. Imtiaz Faisal. Welcome back, IG. Honorable members. The year 2025 marks 30 years since the establishment of a civilian intelligence service. As we mark this important milestone of our existence, we are reminded of the journey undertaken by men and women for the protection of our national sovereignty and national security. A journey characterized by challenges overcome, milestones achieved, and lives positively impacted. We also mark this anniversary fully cognizant of the weaknesses that beset us and the dangers such weaknesses pose to national security and national sovereignty. But most importantly, we mark the 30th anniversary of the Civilian Intelligence Service with a new mandate to modernize and improve the effectiveness and accountability of South Africa's intelligence apparatus, whilst addressing past weaknesses, strengthening national security, and enhancing the role of intelligence in the democratic society. This new mandate derives from the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act that was driven by the 6th administration and passed by the 6th Parliament and accented to by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Addressing past weaknesses. Several commissions, review panels, and internal investigation reports have documented in detail the weaknesses that confronted the SSA and made very particular recommendations to address the challenges that confronted the SSA and the intelligence community. We remain focused on implementing the recommendations, tracking the progress thereof, and reporting same to the National Security Council and the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. The first one of those weaknesses we're addressing is dealing with allegations of malfeasance, corruption, and unethical conduct. Specific to the recommendations of the High-Level Review Panel and the Zondo Commission on dealing with allegations of malfeasance, corruption, and unethical conduct. In line with the recommendations of the High-Level Review Panel, a panel of 2 independent senior counsel and a counsel have commenced their work to assess the allegations made in various reports with a view to initiate disciplinary actions or recommend referral of cases for prosecutorial action by the relevant authorities. This initiative forms part of our broader effort to strengthen consequence management within the agency, reinforce institutional accountability, and restore integrity to the civilian intelligence services. To prevent recurrence, we are also strengthening our risk management system within the SSA. B, we are enhancing the role of intelligence in a democratic society. Furthermore, the High-Level Review Panel highlighted a need for a comprehensive national security strategy to guide the work of the national intelligence structures and government in general. In March 2024, Cabinet approved the national security strategy that was then also consulted with the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. And to enhance the role of intelligence in a democratic society, the High-Level Review Panel has recommended that we reaffirm our commitment to transparency and accountability and to ensure that our national security priorities are accessible and understandable to all South Africans. In this regard, and following extensive consultation on legal guidance on the implications of publishing material produced by national intelligence structures, I shall release, for the first time in the history of South Africa, the public versions of the National Security Strategy 2024 to 2029, the National Intelligence Estimates with its National Intelligence Priorities 2019 to 2024. We cannot release the current National Intelligence Estimate because it will then interfere with the operations of the intelligence structures and other respected. So the guidance is that we must release for the previous term. So because the sixth administration has concluded, we are going to then release the public versions of the National Intelligence Estimate for the sixth administration. We'll release it today at 1:30 at the GCIS Media Center. Implementation of the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act GILA establishes new intelligence structures, provides for improved oversight and accountability of intelligence services, including enhanced independence of the IGI and NICOC. In terms of the new structures, the GILA establishes the South African Intelligence Service, the South African Intelligence Agency, the National Communications Center, and the South African National Intelligence Academy of Intelligence. To ensure efficient and streamlined organizational structure, these new departments and structures will be supported by a shared service capacity that will consolidate key administrative and support functions across the civilian intelligence community. In this regard, NICOC and the Office of the Interception Centers structures have been approved and the filling of vacancies will be completed over the next 24 months. Similarly, the Office of the Inspector General of Intelligence is currently filling its vacancies in line with its available budget. We are not only finalizing the organizational structures, but the relevant regulations that will govern them and their coordination and collaboration. We are mindful of the work underway in Parliament regarding the RICA bill, but we have also requested the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development to also prioritize the broader overhaul of the RICA framework as initiated through the RICA Reform Task Team. The OIC has commenced drafting legislation that will govern interception and bulk surveillance for national security purposes, as also raised in the Amabungane court judgment, because RICA will not sufficiently address requirements of national security. In addition, we are focused in building lawful interception capabilities for the OIC, which will be at par with the advancement of technology and provide ability to respond to the emerging challenges. Capabilities such as data analytics and use of artificial intelligence will enhance the ability to analyze big data, identify threats, and predict patterns of behavior from intercepted data and generate insights for law enforcement agencies to act preemptively and thus enhance the crime-fighting effort. Thus, resources will be directed towards investment in the state-of-the-art technologies that will enable interception, processing, and data analysis to stay ahead of the emerging threats. To prepare for the implementation of the new structures, we undertook a skills audit which had over 96% compliance and supported by a competency assessment. The skills audit and competency assessment highlighted the skills and competency gaps, some of which the organization has started to address through the training interventions by the Intelligence Academy, soon to be SANAI. And the next intake of the cadets will focus on much needed skills of data analytics, data science, artificial intelligence, amongst others, which will be supported by a clear career pathing and progression plan. The Intelligence Academy has also commenced with its repositioning as a fully fledged academy with SACO accredited courses, which process will include collaboration with other institutions of higher learning to ensure skills portability, professionalization of the service. The need for the established career pathing and progression and succession policy has been made more clearer during the current implementation of the voluntary severance package, where members stated predominantly the following reasons for taking up VSP. Many indicated that they were responding positively to the broader government program of managing down the public service wage bill and allowing employment opportunities for younger people who could bring fresh ideas and skills. Two, mechanism afforded a few applicants the opportunity to exit due to health problems which were not serious enough to warrant consideration of medical boarding. Three, a small number cited family responsibilities that were detracting them from their ability to be optimally productive. But majority of applicants felt that they had reached the ceiling of their growth in the organization, and due to advanced age, they had less prospects of growing. And this is supported by that today applications from 228, which is 8% of staff establishment, had the applications for VSP approved. And the bulk of the applications, 76.3%, pardon me, came from the G3, P1 and P2 levels. These are the higher level generalists and professional bands who, despite majority of them holding qualifications, have remained in the same position for an extended period with no prospects of career growth in their remaining years of service. The VSP program is also supported by a dedicated change management initiative. Strengthening national security. First is the fight against organized crime. The shadow of organized crime in South Africa stretches far and wide. The problem of organized crime is a serious and complex challenge that undermines national security, social stability, economic development, and the rule of law. It is no longer limited to local gangs. It includes transnational syndicates involved in drug trafficking, human trafficking and smuggling, rhino poaching, illegal mining, and smuggling of precious metal, and cybercrime and financial fraud. In South Africa, organized crime is also closely linked with illegal mining, the Zamazamas, gang violence, is known in the Western Cape, in particular hijacking and extortion rackets, corrupt procurement and looting of state-owned entities, and cross-border smuggling of drugs, cigarettes, and firearms. Organized crime causes economic damage and distortion by diverting billions from legal economy through money laundering, tax evasion, and counterfeit markets. Furthermore, it discourages investment, raises the cost of doing business, and distorts fair competition. Cases of extortion pervade industries such as construction, transport, small and large business enterprises, and there's a new phase of water mafias, which is undermining and damaging critical water infrastructure, thus undermining both service delivery and economic development, and this cannot be left unattended. As we ramp up the fight against organized crime and to direct its approach in this fight, the SSA is finalizing its anti-organized crime strategy while also participating in the process of drafting the National Anti-Organized Crime Strategy, which is spearheaded by the South African Police Service. In addition, the SSA is leading the drafting of South Africa's counter-proliferation strategy. Furthermore, the SSA is continue to employ its resources together with local and international partners to stem illicit financial flows generated by organized crime enterprises and to play its role in safeguarding our economy, our country's economy. We've made significant progress in this regard, contributing to South Africa's substantial completion of all 22 FATF action items, paving the way for an on-site visit and our country's anticipated removal from the grey listing. We are also seized with addressing the threats posed by gangsterism and all its permutations, including kidnappings and demands for ransom, in an effort to ensure that our people are safe and feel safe. We acknowledge that no single government agency on its own can effectively address this threat. Therefore, as the SSA, we are committed to continue our participation in multi-stakeholder forums aimed at devising and implementing coordinated interventions. As the SSA will continue to lead and provide guidance to the further enhance current counterintelligence coordination initiatives, especially at provincial and local government level, to create awareness of the risk national security to national securities and required mitigation and measures to be instituted. Honorable members, on counterterrorism, in some regions, organized crime form alliances with terrorist or insurgent groups, thus creating hybrid threats, e.g. arms for drugs, exchanges, smuggling routes, and so forth. We continue to monitor if such linkages are emerging in South Africa. With its multifaceted and ever-evolving forms, terrorism stands as one of the most pressing and insidious threats to global peace and security in the 21st century. No longer confined by geographic boundaries or political ideologies, it has transformed into a truly global phenomenon, impacting nations regardless of their economic standing, political system, as well as cultural heritage. South Africa's terrorism threat landscape is informed by developments and trends domestically and outside of South Africa's border. In February 2023, the FATF designated South Africa as a jurisdiction under increased monitoring, more commonly known as grey listing, due to this threat of terrorism and terror financing. Subsequent to South Africa's grey listing, the country has been diligently carrying out a range of strategic legislative, institutional, and corporational interventions aimed at rectifying the identified deficiencies and ensuring removal from the grey listing. As the national intelligence priorities mandated the SSA to focus on terrorism and terror financing as a matter of priority, the SSA has increased its ability to identify potential terror financing cases by broadening its understanding of terror financing, both analytically and operationally. We are also increasing our counterterrorism focus and will continue to be involved in bilateral engagements with foreign counterparts on counterterrorism and terror financing, including the SADC Regional Counterterrorism Center. On border insecurity and migration, the intersection of border security and migration presents a multifaceted challenge with profound implications for individual states and nations globally. In a globalizing world characterized by porous borders, ease of movement of goods and people, as well as the rapid flow of information through technology-enabled channels, our security is increasingly becoming entangled with that of our region of Southern Africa, the continent of Africa, and indeed the rest of the world. These dynamics necessitate a comprehensive understanding of how migration flows and border management strategies directly influence state resources, infrastructure, social services, and ultimately the broader security posture of the country. South Africa, like all other states with significant illegal immigration challenge, is at risk of threats as they present and manifest as its ports of entry. The SSA is increasing its focus on border and ports of entry security to improve its support to other border security role players such as the BMA, the SAPS, and the SNDF to secure territorial integrity in land, aviation, and maritime domains and national sovereignty through providing information and intelligence to mitigate and counter the threats. On cybersecurity, during the last budget vote, I committed that we will table the cybersecurity bill. However, the process of developing the cybersecurity bill had to be done in phases. For now, we are going to finalize consultation on the cybersecurity strategy. And the purpose of the cybersecurity strategy is to provide a clear, structured, and proactive approach to protecting the country's digital assets, information systems, and critical infrastructure from cyber threats. It aligns cybersecurity efforts with national interests. The draft strategy focuses on protecting information and systems by ensuring the security, confidentiality, integrity, and availability of ICT systems and digital infrastructure. 2, building resilience and incident response by developing the capability to detect, respond to, and recover from cyber incidents and minimize disruption to services and operations during cyber attacks or breaches. 3, strengthen national security by protecting critical infrastructure such as energy, transport, healthcare, finance, communications from cyber-enabled threats, and enhancing national defense and intelligence capabilities in the cyber domain. 4, promoting awareness and cyber hygiene by educating both employees and citizens and other stakeholders about safe digital practices and fostering a culture of cybersecurity through training, awareness campaigns, and responsible behavior online. 5, fostering collaboration and information sharing by enhancing coordination between government, private sector, academia, and international partners. The NICOC will soon develop coordination capacity for an integrated national intelligence structure cybersecurity coordination to support the work of the SSA and other role players. On the work we do for the rest of the world, South Africa remains mindful of the linkages of our national security to those of our neighbors and the continent of Africa and the world at large. SSA has been active in supporting government's work in the context of SADC, SACU, the AU, BRICS, and the United Nations, and all other bilateral relations. Our work includes working closely with partner intelligence security services in identifying the common security threats affecting the region, and most of which would pose a threat to South Africa's national security. Recognizing the new threats emerging from the digital space, the SSA has been proactive in pioneering discussions on collaboration among African countries for investing in sovereign digital infrastructure that is interoperable. And in this regard, SSA, as the Southern Africa Regional Chair of the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services of Africa, CISA, has been at the forefront of initiating dialogue with within the Southern Africa region on building strategies for technological sovereignty. In support of South Africa's multilateral programs, the SSA provides both threat, risk, and opportunity assessments, as well as intelligence briefs in preparation for the participation of South Africa's various delegations to multilateral bodies and the implementation of multilateral agreements with a view of supporting South Africa's international agenda. The SSA has, through quarterly continental stability assessments and other products on transnational threats such as terrorism, forewarned on regional instability that could constitute an impediment on the operations of South Africa's businesses wishing to invest in Africa. Recent global developments such as the rollout of global tariffs and the withdrawal of international aid to African economies have also been factored into SSA's assessments on threats, risks, and opportunities to South Africa's economic diplomacy. Honorable members, intelligence exists primarily to safeguard the sovereignty of the state. It must fulfill its role by identifying and countering potential threats using the instruments and resources available to it. I table the budget vote number 8 of National Treasury, State Security, for your support to enable us to deliver this work. And as I table this vote, we want to commit that SSA and all the national intelligence structures that I'm responsible for will avail ourselves to the Judge Matlanga Commission of Inquiry as announced by the President. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Isaacs.
Honorable House Chairperson, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, Minister in the Presidency, together with your Deputy Ministers, Morolong and Hlauli, our Acting Director General, Ambassador Msimanga, the Inspector General of Intelligence and the management team of the SSA and the intelligence community. We are here today because we were brought together to debate on a very important budget vote at a very pivotal moment. As South Africa undertakes one of the most significant reforms to its national intelligence architecture, a reform that seeks to deepen the roots of governance and accountability. At the heart of this transformation is a simple but powerful principle. Intelligence services must uphold the Constitution and respond to the realities of a rapidly changing world. Today, the global environment is volatile, shaped by shifting alliances, cyber warfare, disinformation campaigns, and economic uncertainty. The General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act 37 of 2024 sets the legal foundation for a reimagined intelligence architecture. We are moving towards a more modern, mission-driven, and accountable intelligence capability. Through this legislation, the State Security Agency will be disestablished in the 2025-26 financial year, and in its place, two specialized services will be established, as already alluded to by the Minister. The South African Intelligence Agency focuses on domestic intelligence, and the South African Intelligence Services responsible for foreign intelligence. This is more than just a name change. It represents a strategic transformation that signifies a clear shift towards intelligence services that are fit for purpose and clearly mandated. The 2025-26 annual performance plan of the SSA marks the first year of this transition. This year, according to the State Security Agency, will be used to build the institutional, regulatory, and operational foundations of the new services, guided by a change management roadmap and supported by a shared services model to ensure business continuity, making oversight during this time extremely crucial. The Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence will have a key role in ensuring effectiveness, transparency, and ensuring that as the services transition, they remain firmly focused on the core mandate of protecting the Republic of South Africa, securing its people, and safeguarding its sovereignty. Transformation is not only about new structures, but it's also about new standards. In recent years, trust in our intelligence institutions has been tested. The high-level review panel into the SSA made it clear that in order to restore our services, governance must be tightened, oversight strengthened, and professionalism restored. As the JSCI of the 7th Parliament, we have reinforced the call to strengthen internal governance systems and address areas that were previously identified as weak. The various engagements we have had with the Audit and Risk Committee and the Internal Audit Unit, as well as the IGI, all reaffirm that work is being done to focus on fraud prevention, internal accountability, and risk management. Chairperson, the strategic focus of the State Security Agency has become more defined, deliberate, and aligned with our national priorities. The agency is now squarely focused on the collection, analysis, and dissemination of intelligence that is directly linked to those elements of national life we are duty-bound to protect: our people, our sovereignty, our democratic institutions, as well as our economic well-being. These identified referent objects are not abstract. They are clearly outlined in both the 2025-2030 strategic plan and the 2025-26 annual performance plan. In reviewing the APP and accompanying budget, the JSCI has played a decisive role in ensuring that measurable outcomes match the strategic intent. In this regard, we welcome the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound targets embedded in both the APP and the strategic plan. We say this with confidence, having sent back the SSA and insisted on a redrafted submission of both the strategic plan and the APP to ensure the planning documents met the high standards expected of an institution mandated to safeguard national security. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to thank Minister Nchaveni as well as Ambassador Msimanga for their responsiveness to our oversight. Their leadership has demonstrated that reform and accountability can and must go hand in hand. The reality is that the SSA is operating within a tight budget allocation. As the effects of budget cuts from previous financial years are still being felt, this is despite the marginal increases provided in the 2025-26 allocation. The SSA is required to do more with less, even in the context of rapidly changing national security challenges. The intelligence community will have to develop a framework within which resources can be shared and operations coordinated. The challenges that they are experiencing, one of them is the cybersecurity. Our digital infrastructure, economy, and even democratic institutions are now targets in a global cyber conflict that transcends borders. In response to this, the SSA is fast-tracking a new legislative framework for cybersecurity and a national cybersecurity strategy, both designed to develop the capacity to prevent, detect, and respond to cyber threats. As the agency reforms to support evidence-based decision-making, it will have to invest in the people behind it. The Intelligence Academy will be positioned as a center of excellence with curriculum reforms underway to equip the next generation of intelligence officers with critical skills. It is also progressing toward becoming a registered institution of higher learning, preparing for both today's threats and those yet to emerge. These steady yet progressive reforms should not be limited to the SSA. Crime intelligence faces significant challenges due to various instabilities and systemic governance issues. As the JSCI, we called for the prioritization of governance through the strengthening of internal controls. This is why we initially sent back sub-CI's APP and strat plan, calling for a redraft to ensure that governance matters were given priority. The resubmitted plans represent progress, recognizing that much work is still needed in reforming sub-CI. As the JSCI, we are committed to driving and overseeing these challenges. I must confirm that following the press conference by KZN Police Commissioner General Mkwanazi, the Speaker of the National Assembly has requested the JSCI to consider on an urgent basis in terms of our mandate, the allegations made and the implications of those to our national security and report to the National Assembly in this regard. I can confirm that in addition to our own oversight engagement in crime intelligence, the committee is also now seized with the work referred by the Honourable Speaker, taking into account that the Honourable President have appointed a Judicial Commission of Inquiry. However, after analysing both plans and the accompanying budget of crime intelligence, it is clear that governance must be tightened, oversight strengthened, and professionalism, accountability, and integrity must be restored to sub-CI. The vacancies that are hampering service delivery should also be filled as a matter of urgency. House Chairperson, as I conclude, it has become clear to me as we work through the various planning documents that we are laying the groundwork for a new generation of intelligence services. Services that are not remnants of the past, but engines of protection, foresight, and national development. Implementation of resolutions of the IGI and the JICI will enable us to ensure accountability and assist in building a secure, sovereign, and democratic South Africa, one that is ready not only to respond, but to lead. I thank you. Kia leboga, enkosi.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Mchingila.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, and the people of South Africa, we rise this morning not as a party, but as a voice of the betrayed nation, deeply wounded by the rot that defines our practice and intelligence community. Lieutenant General Mkwanazi revealed the unthinkable, that the minister placed on special leave has interfered directly with critical crime intelligence operations. that the investigations into politically motivated killings were deliberately dismantled, investigators sidelined, and dockets locked away to protect those with blood on their hands. What is more alarming is it is alleged that drug cartels and organized crime syndicates have infiltrated SAPS, crime intelligence, and the judiciary. Most recently, the president misled the nation on a serious security high risk for the country. Once Parliament, SAPS, NPA, and the judiciary are compromised and in cahoots with criminals, we don't have a credible government. Now, these allegations are a red flag of a deep state. Disturbingly, the morally and ethically questionable president delivered a carefully worded national address in defense of the CR17 bank statements and Phala. We rise with fever and anger, grounded in the blood of soaked soil of our struggle to oppose this vote. It remains a crater of corruption, secrecy, and betrayal. Let it be said clearly that this is not a vote for safety, it is a vote for surveillance, a vote for suppression, a vote to shield the corrupt from the consequences of their treason. This vote has become a tool of domestic control, not of national security. State security should refer to safeguarding of the country's sovereignty, constitutional order, territorial integrity, and the safety of its citizens against internal and external threats. However, its true meaning beyond the official definition depends on how it is implemented, who controls it, and whether it serves the people or the elite or the criminal syndicates and organized crime. The Zondo Commission exposed how state security was abused to target progressive forces for refusing to conform to elite pressure and influence that discriminated against the majority in their land and failed to uphold the founding principles of the Freedom Charter. It became a tool used to settle political scores and character assassinate rather than upholding the constitutional obligations. Instead, the intelligence services were used for factional ANC battles, targeting journalists and activists, including whistleblowers, but also manipulating political outcomes. House Chairperson, Vote 8 is a disaster. It fails to address private security industry regulatory authority, which uncovered secret, uncredited military-style training camps near White River in Mpumalanga, where MDSS, where around 95 Libyan nationals undergoing training were arrested. They had entered South Africa claiming to be security guard trainees under student visa while having extensive training by unaccredited and foreign-trained instructors. These terrorists were admitted under misrepresented student visas, revealing cracks in visa check systems. Now, these are real dangers to state security and cannot be deliberately ignored. The SSA, once tasked with defending democracy, it is now an ANC political instrument. Over 1.5 billion remains unaccounted for from looted special operations. These are no prosecutions, there are no prosecutions, no reforms, and hence no consequence management. Parliament is forced to vote on a classified budget that even the Joint Steering Committee of Intelligence cannot meaningfully scrutinize. 11 billion in 2025-26 for early retirement, yet there are no structural overhaul and/or plans for workforce rejuvenation. This is not reform, but is a formula to recycle rot. The defense intelligence has become a marginalized in strategic planning, especially in cross-border threats and regional instability. The collapse of intelligence coordination in peacekeeping operations like in the DRC has exposed South African soldiers to danger with no threat detection capability. With several cases of theft, sabotage, and security breaches in military bases have occurred, including the theft of weapons, where defense intelligence was unable to detect these activities. This budget is a betrayal of citizens, even those that sit in the DAG, and you cannot deny this. In your secret palace and time of reflection, my words will resonate with you with these absolute truths. The true meaning of state security lies not in how it's defined on paper, but in how it is practiced. It should never become a tool for authoritarian control or elite protection, but a service that empowers a safe, just, and inclusive society. Compatriots, the state security serves the people. Until the budget serves the grassroots, not the elite, until this intelligence service are transformed, not recycled, we say no to vote aid, no to tyranny and fear, cloaked in the term of national security. The fires of our struggle continues to burn. We, the disciples of change and bearers of the spear, vehemently reject this vote and demand the immediate arrest of the president and his corrupt minister. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Kohler.
Thank you, Chair. There appears to be an infinite number of moving parts spinning out of control within the SAPS today. As the accusations swarm about us, preemptively claiming crimes committed by every single player, it would be unwise indeed to predetermine the outcome. I've had to rewrite this budget speech repeatedly, sometimes hourly. Let's start with the fact that it took a year for the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence to be constituted. As we know from bitter experience, in a vacuum, there is no resistance to the inevitable South African free-for-all. Money was splurged, stolen, and misused. We should have been there to oversee crime intelligence. I'm sure you've all read the newspapers. The State Security Agency was outed for mass looting during the Zondo Commission. The Defense Intelligence, think of our SANDF members killed in the Congo. 2 months before the creation of the committee, I wrote to the Inspector General of Intelligence and asked about the purchases by crime intelligence of at least 2 questionable, very expensive properties in the suburbs of Pretoria and Durban. I checked and they had failed to consult with the Minister of Public Works before making the purchases. I found myself asking what it could possibly be that they intended to do with a 22.7 million rand, 24-bedroom, 5-star hotel in Pretoria. While I may not speak of the final report of the IG as it was presented to the JSCI, the extent of the purchases has now been revealed in great detail in the media. The picture is far, far darker than I first imagined. And as we've already seen, and as with every such episode I've watched over the years, we are hearing claims and counterclaims while the Twitterati shoot to kill reputations through kangaroo courts without a shred of evidence. 3 weeks ago, there were 7 crime intelligence arrests. In fact, the whole top structure, not in relation to the building purchases yet, but in relation to the hiring of a lady from BMW. One of those arrested had actually been arrested a week prior in connection with a saga that somehow involved a hooker, a gun, a laptop, and a cell phone. Then on Sunday, the president announced not the suspension of Lieutenant General Makonazi, who had the world thinking we had a coup on our hands, or the firing of the minister, facing claims that he had colluded with a criminal syndicate and interfered in various high-level investigations, but the formation of yet another judicial commission. The minister is, however, to sit at home on full pay, watching his 2027 presidential ambitions circle the drain. A quick reminder of the billion rand arrest-free Zondo Commission. We know that after the Zuma incarceration for contempt of court came the riots, lootings, and murders. We gave up asking where the intelligence services had been during that time and why they hadn't put the fire out before it became a 21 billion rand conflagration. The 7 CI arrests were, I'm convinced, just the tip of a very large iceberg looking to sink careers indiscriminately. Sprinkled throughout these budget debates have been references to possible criminal activities by various ministers, something the president should have, in my opinion, dealt with on Sunday evening. So while crime intelligence is imploding, the State Security Agency opened the window for expertise to fly out, and fly it did. Back in November last year, many insiders came to me and to others with claims that the minister told a gathering of senior SSA officials that anyone over 50 must take early retirement, take a package or be fired, basically. So they went, and now the SSA is surely scrambling to replace the massive loss of intelligence expertise. Now, juniorization is the catchphrase of the day. Give the youngsters a chance, but this in the full knowledge that decades of experience cannot be rushed and the lack thereof could endanger lives. There was, of course, no JSCI to dig out the truth of the situation. Ultimately, a pivotal issue such as this should have been required to have at least the backing of the JSCI and operational committee. Allegations are also swirling around the same minister in Treveni with reference to a time as municipal manager of the Phalaborwa local municipality in Limpopo. This started as a small investigation, but morphed into a massive 80 million rand corruption probe and now sits with the NPA. Now, is this, in the end, all about the wrecking of various presidential ambitions? If so, who's behind it? Another presidential hopeful? Of course, there are loud denials flying around about the so-called Operation Sibonkolo, which was alleged to have been formed by the SSA officials aimed at undermining various political ambitions, with our minister, so the claims go, allegedly behind it. Deny, deny, deny. This isn't my first rodeo, and it wouldn't be the first or even the second time the SSA was used for a particular political agenda. The high-level review panel report determined that the SSA was open to abuse to achieve the political ends of individuals within the ANC. We all know that minister after minister after minister has been seen to weaponize the SSA for their own gains while feeding in scores of unqualified family members. Fair's fair. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that this current minister has ever followed that particular tradition. But the very integrity of our entire criminal justice system is on trial as we speak. So here we are. After all that bluster, a minister at home, another ministerial salary being paid, many fingers are crossed that this will all blow over and that we will have lost interest when in a year or more, we may or may not discover the truth. Thank you.
The next speaker is the Honorable Matiase.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. We salute the Commander-in-Chief in steering the EFF into safer and calmer waters as we observe the 12 years of the organization existence, and we invite our supporters and members to join us as we celebrate this 12-year existence of the organization on the 26th of July here in Cape Town. As Chairperson, we are having this debate when our country is entangled in the midst of a territorial storms that threatens to destroy the very foundation of our sovereignty and security as a nation. Ordinary citizens are justified in thinking that the ship has no captain, that is free for all, and that the little intelligence capacity the state has is in fact captured by criminals who project themselves as leaders. The budget outcomes presented here today do not demonstrate a clear appreciation of the priorities for ensuring the security of the state against both external and internal threats. Chairpersons, General Mkhwanazi spoke out publicly with clarity of the crisis in the country, specifically in the South African police services. The country's entire security apparatus is used by those with nefarious intent to enrich themselves and inflict harm on defenseless people, and by extension, inflict harm on the very security of the state. Among those involved in the aforementioned, we have key leaders such as Honorable Nchaveni, who is the minister here. And some of these people, such as herself, are functionaries clothed with authority that should be reserved for only men and women of integrity. She lacks such integrity. The collusion between the criminal underworld, be it domestic or external, poses grave dangers for our country and the fabric of society. This possesses existential concern for the country. And the way we deal with these problems must demonstrate that we have reached a crisis level in the country. We have become a mafia state, and Cyril Ramaphosa has become the mafia in chief.
Honorable Matiase, just sit down for a moment, please. I have a hand here to my right.
Yeah.
Honorable member, why do you want to be recognized?
Honorable House Chair, honorable member is casting aspersion on the minister on the issue of integrity. And this has not been tested in substantive motion.
Yeah, thank you. Honorable Matiase, I heard you made the statement that the minister lacks integrity. That is in fact the type of statement that needs to be brought to the attention of the House through a substantive motion. I would request you to withdraw that statement and to rephrase that type of argument.
I rephrase the statement.
No, I need you to withdraw, Honorable Matthias.
I withdraw the statement.
Thank you.
And rephrase it, that the minister has not covered herself with glory for her to escape the criticism that we're making. Honorable Chair, the observation we're making is that this country has become a safe haven for international criminal organizations who are involved in drug and human trafficking because of these characters we have described. These two we are unable to detect and prevent because our intelligence services are thoroughly incapable of doing the intelligence work necessary to detect and prevent such occurrences. When the president took the state security agencies under the presidency, he did so presumably to prevent its hollowing out that had been initiated under the Zuma corrupt administration. This is a vicious cycle of the ANC corrupt leaders replacing one another at any given time. But what this has done now is to insulate the state security agency from proper oversight from parliament and allow the president massive resources to be used for political expedience as a mafia in chief. The transition has also destabilized the state security agency, leading it not focusing on some of the key priorities. Chair, as there is a need for a dramatic re-evaluation of policing in this country, we also have an urgent need for rebooting our intelligence services. These must be as free as possible from political influence and manipulation. There must be regular revetting of all involved in the management of our intelligence services to eliminate any entanglement with criminal elements. This country needs a decisive leadership of a benevolent leader who loves his people unconditionally, the commander-in-chief, who shall ensure that institutions such as state security agencies are freed from the state capture, are freed from elite capture, are freed from underground, underworld criminals who masquerade as the leaders in suits when during the night they connive against the sovereignty of our people, with hardcore criminals who some serve jail time in prisons. This country needs a benevolent leader who shall ensure that these criminals in suits, in ties, are put where they belong in jail. The EFF rejects this budget vote with the contempt it deserves. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, House Chairperson. We rise today to raise critical concerns regarding the allocation and oversight of resources linked to state security. This is not a peripheral matter. In an era of rising cyber threats, political instability, transnational organized crime, and illicit financial flow, state security is inseparable from economic stability, investor confidence, and the integrity of public governance. While we welcome the 5.6 billion allocation to Program 8, which includes both the Financial Intelligence Center, the Secret State Security transfers, we remain concerned about the capacity of classified allocations and the lack of meaningful parliamentary oversight of entities operating under the cloak of national security. It is unacceptable that billions can be transferred under the guise of, quote, state security, close quote, without adequate mechanisms for accountability and audit. This creates fertile ground for abuse and undermines both fiscal credibility and constitutional governance. On the other hand, on one hand, the Financial Intelligence Center continues to play a vital role in countering money laundering, terrorist financing, and illicit financial flows. Its performance targets, ranging from conducting 240 compliance reviews, producing 95 high-priority intelligence reports, and maintaining a 100% success rate in fund blocking requests demonstrate an active and evolving institution committed to international anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorist obligations. However, the same cannot be said for the state security, a body whose funding is tucked into the vote in this vote, but whose activities and performance are cloaked in undue secrecy. We acknowledge the sensitive nature of intelligence work, but security without oversight is a danger to democracy. The continued lack of transparent indicators, public reporting, and institutional reform within the SSA is untenable. We note with disappointment that the SSA component is still reported only to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence with limited public scrutiny at a time when the country is grappling with complex threats, human trafficking, cross-border crime, cybercrime, extremist network, and sabotage of critical infrastructure. We need an intelligence architecture that is effective, ethical, and answerable to the people of South Africa. Let us be clear, state security is not just about intelligence files and classified rooms. It is about defending the Republic. It is about ensuring that every South African is safe from criminal syndicates, terror networks, and corruption. Honorable Chairperson, the IFP, however, supports Budget Vote 8 with the firm expectation that this allocation for state security must be matched by tangible reform, strategic coordination, and constitutional accountability. We cannot allow our people to continue living in fear while the state security institutions operate in silence and shadows. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Hendricks.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister in the Ministry, members of the House, not forgetting my fellow patriot South Africans. The Patriotic Alliance support Budget Vote 8, but insist on accountability, Minister, transparency and clear alignment between state security spending and real threats facing our nation. South Africa's security system has for too long suffered from corruption, mismanagement, and inadequate oversight. The National Treasury should ensure funds are properly justified, scrutinized, used for legitimate national security needs, preventing misuse for personal or political gain. Security spending must match real threats. The budget must reflect a clear strategy to counter cybercrime, cyber warfare, poses ongoing threats to vital infrastructure, financial systems, and government data. To combat these, we need advanced cybersecurity defense, trained experts, and proactive countermeasures to prevent attacks from both foreign and domestic hackers. Terrorism and extremism are increasing threats in South Africa. It requires strong counterterrorism efforts, improved intelligence sharing, and greater regional collaboration. Intelligence agencies should focus on dismantling organized crime and corruption, including criminal networks within the state, instead of being used to target political opponents. Secrecy in intelligence must be limited, while some confidentiality is necessary. Parliament and independent bodies must oversee spending and ensure accountability, preventing secrecy from hiding corruption. We demand regular classified briefing to a multi-party oversight committee review, expenditure and operational outcome, Minister. Forensic audits of intelligence budgets to root out wasteful expenditure and crafts. The state security agencies should be depoliticized and professionalized, focusing on national protection rather than targeting journalists, activists, or political rivals. The people of South Africa deserve, I am not saying you're targeting leadership, no? The people of South Africa deserve the patriotic, in conclusion, the Patriotic Alliance support budget vote 8. On condition that it delivers real security, Minister, not more corruption under the guise of secrecy. We will not be fooled again, Minister. The people of South Africa deserve security, a security sector that protects them, not one that plunders their taxes. We call on the House to adopt this budget. But with vigilance, with scrutiny, and with an unwavering commitment to transparency. Ons paisani, ons iverni, asnavalo, arpaisi. I thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Let me just double check, Honorable Trollip. I don't see the Freedom Front here, but let me just, for the sake of the record, double check. If not present, then Honorable Trollip.
Chairperson, as global and regional threats to peace and security continue to escalate, South Africa must act with urgency to strengthen its deterrence capabilities and ensure the operational readiness of the state to respond as and when the need arises. Look no further than Mozambique to see the consequences of an ISIS insurgency. Central to this readiness is an intelligence apparatus that is capable not only of detecting threats, but also providing early warning and enabling proactive, coordinated planning and responses across all levels of government. The minister's speech didn't inspire any confidence. In fact, it compounded our concerns. Sadly, it is common cause that South Africa's intelligence capacity has been systematically hollowed out. That is a refrain I've heard all morning here. Successive administrations have presided over the politicization, mismanagement, and fragmentation of our intelligence services. This has left us dangerously exposed at a time when the threat environment is becoming increasingly volatile and where threats are far more sophisticated and less conventional, particularly in current technological age. Now, I noted the people that the minister greeted sitting at the back from the National State Security Agency, and now I venture that we know who the people are who don't know what's going on in this country. And if you think it's harsh, think back to the 21st of July, 2021. Did anyone know what is going on? No. What should be apparent to all of us is that we are nowhere near the institutional capacity required to give meaningful effect to the intelligence mandate. From transnational trafficking syndicates and terrorism to espionage and the invasion of our porous borders, the state lacks the strategic coherence, technical capability, and professional leadership required to secure the Republic against both current and emerging threats. It is with this context that Action SA registers its deep concern. Minister, despite repeated commitments, neither the National Security Strategy nor the 2024-2025 National Intelligence Estimates have been released. These documents were promised in your 2024 budget speech and were expected in August and September of last year. You tell us today that they're mysteriously going to be released today. How do you expect us to believe that when you have not met your own commitments for more than a year? Why can't we even get the basics right on time? Well, I suppose the answer to that is that no ministers or deputy ministers have got any performance contracts. You just do as you please in this country. This delay undermines parliamentary and oversight transparency, particularly given that these documents were intended to respond to the exact concerns we are raising today. Minister, you are aware that under democratic norms, it's entirely acceptable to release redacted or summarized versions of such documents if declassification is not possible. Without these strategic frameworks in place, the country, SSA, continues to operate in the dark, and our ability to anticipate and respond to security threats remains dangerously compromised. South Africa cannot defend itself against internal threats of drugs, gang warfare, rural crime, farm murders, GBV, uprisings, rampant crime and corruption, all of those things exposed by General Mkhwanazi. But we have a Minister of Defense who says, don't worry, we can defend ourselves. That's the Minister of 30%. 30% in defense is failure, which makes this parlous state of state security a matter of grave concern. If you cannot support the security of South Africa and its citizens, how can you expect us to support this budget? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Swartz, you are invited.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP is fully aware of the many threats facing the nation, both globally and domestically, and that these require an effective and properly resourced state security agency. Significant structural reforms following various inquiries have now been implemented with enhanced oversight and accountability. Now, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi's recent explosive revelations of crime and corruption at the highest level of SAPS are deeply concerning. And we in the ACDP welcome the role that Parliament will play in ventilating these issues and exercising oversight as a matter of urgency, in addition to the judicial inquiry. While these statements still need to be tested, it does show the important role that national intelligence structures should play in protecting national security. And in this regard, one only needs to remember the violent unrest in KZN and parts of Gauteng in 2021, which resulted in the tragic loss of 350 lives, to understand the critical need of reliable state intelligence, whether it be crime, military, or state security intelligence. An additional and very real threat is presented by ISIS on our very doorstep. The security situation in northern Mozambique's Cabo Delgado region remains precarious. Domestically, as the Minister pointed out, organized crime syndicates pose a significant threat to stability, development, and national security, masquerading as business forums whilst driving a nefarious criminal agenda. So the ACDP is also concerned about the budgetary constraints facing our intelligence services. There's a dire need for properly resourced intelligence agencies. And so, Minister, there's a severe indictment that the amendments to RICA were not signed into law by President Ramaphosa before the cutoff date of 3 February 2024. This after Parliament rushed through the amendments in December 2023 to give the presidency time to sign the bill into law by February 2024. Sadly, this did not happen. And eventually, in November 2024, the presidency sent the bill back to Parliament with reservations. And the president is now seeking to revive the court order. This, Honourable Minister, Chairperson, as you know, has resulted in a serious gap in the law. And it is disgraceful that as we speak, state security agencies, whether it is crime, whether it is military, whether it is our state security agencies, have no way legally of obtaining RICA surveillance orders since February 2024, more than 18 months. Minister, I'd like you to address this issue and how the agencies are required to do the intelligence job given this lacuna. I thank you.
We invite the Honorable Sazo Webster.
Honorable Chairperson, we must confront a very uncomfortable truth as South Africans. And that is the fact that when it comes to state security and intelligence, too much of the old apartheid architecture still lingers. The only difference is that this time it doesn't manifest itself as an authoritarian regime, but by political factions that fight for power and impunity. General Mkhwanazi's revelations exposed how the State Security Agency was systematically abused to serve ANC factional battles, not national interests. his testimony echoed Zondo's findings, and that is that SSA resources were diverted to manipulate internal politics and protect corruption. Zondo's recommendations were very clear: strengthen the Inspector General, empower Parliament's Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, tighten financial controls, and end ministerial interference. The General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act, signed in March of this year, is meant to answer that call. It splits the SSA into separate domestic and foreign agencies. It enhances oversight and formalizes auditing and inspection controls. But have these reforms been reflected in this recent budget? The SSA remains deeply hidden. The National Security Strategy and National Intelligence Estimate, though reportedly approved, are still not public. And so even the Auditor General faces restricted access to the SSA expenditure. And while the JSCI has since been reconstituted in 2024, questions remain over its real power and access. The public currently, as we know, is resisting a judicial commission of inquiry following General Mkonazi's revelations. And it's not because they do not believe that we need insights into what is happening in the system, but it's because we have not seen enforcement of Zondo's recommendations, and we are likely to see that repeated again with the Madlanga Commission. So the problem is not insight, the problem is the political will to act on it. So this budget has got to do more than approve figures. It must embed transparency and accountability into the very fabric of our intelligence structure. And so we call on Treasury to publish a clear breakdown of SSA allocations, including classified appropriation, on a confidential basis to the JSCI, as well as to the Auditor General. We urge the executive to ensure that the JSCI is fully functional, and we request formal progress reports on whether, first of all, the ministerial and financial control reforms have been implemented, the SSA is truly divested from political interference, and the implementation status of the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act within SSA. If we're serious about rebuilding trust in state security, we have to make sure that when we approve budgets, it comes with stringent oversight conditions and mechanisms. We support the budget, but on those conditions.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now invite the Honourable Point of order, House Chair. Honourable Member, take a seat. I didn't want to Honourable interrupt. Member, allow me to acknowledge you first. Honourable Member, yes.
Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt the Honorable Webster, but we have a member that is wearing party regalia in the House. Honorable Dagmore is wearing a tie with the ANC logos all over the tie. Can you please remove the tie? Thank you. Or close the tie. He knows the rules. That is the rule.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member, with order. Order, Honourable Members. Thank you, Honourable Members. Order. It's yes. Are you raising a point of order, ma'am? I acknowledge you. Order, Honourable Members. There are still members who are on the Honourable Member. You are acknowledged. Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was going to mention about the EFF jacket. You know, we must impose the rules fairly to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Members. Honourable Members. Order, Honourable Members. Yes, indeed. Honourable Members, the House is still in session. The House is still in session, and it does not make your point heard if you're going to scream across. Honourable Members, yes, to uphold and maintain the decorum of the House, the rules do not allow you to be wearing party regalia logo. Therefore, Honourable Members, for all members across the board, just be mindful of the fact that your own rules that you are subscribing to, which are the 9th edition, do not allow you to be wearing your party logo.
On that note, honorable members, this is a courtesy call for all of us just to be cognizant of that fact. And then, honorable member, let's step aside from this matter and I invite the honorable Mayberg. Time is 6 minutes, honorable members. Honorable member.
Honorable Chair, honorable members of the House, South Africa's intelligence services are burdened by two issues: people and money. Without adequate finances and the right staff complement, the various threats to our national security cannot be met effectively. But the more we dig into the underlying causes and the better we come to understand the genesis of our challenges, the more one realizes that most of our troubles are in fact self-inflicted. 2 Sundays, 2 statements, one from a provincial police commissioner, the other from the president. And taken together, these 2 statements sadly but concisely illustrate precisely what's wrong with South Africa. Every opportunity to do the right thing is wasted, time and time again. Why is it that we are now struggling to make ends meet? Why are so many of the state's critically important mandates suffocating under financial constraints? The reasons lie in the choices that we make. Decisions have consequences. Even today, some in the executive cling to outdated and inappropriate ideological allegiances which are costing the country dearly. Poor policy choices, both foreign and domestic, are posing a direct threat to the economic security of the country. Without a thriving economy and an expanding tax base, we will never be able to meet the growing financial needs of our intelligence community. Poor strategic judgment and a misreading of the international balance of forces will continue to stifle our economy and expose our vulnerability to global realities. An ailing economy, due to poor executive decision-making, is unable to support the resource requirements of our national security imperatives. Whilst we now look toward appropriating funds for the important work of our intelligence services, the long-standing elephant in the room, Chair, remains the almost total absence of consequence management for past misdemeanors. The high-level review panel report, and many have referred to that today, on state security of 2018, made many important recommendations. 7 years later, most of these remain unimplemented. Thereafter followed the Zondo Commission, which found inter alia that SSA had undertaken illegal operations to improve the political fortunes of the ANC in various provinces. The Commission also found that hundreds of millions of rands in cash, which were withdrawn and handled by Mrs. Dlomo, Mshlobo, and Fraser, remain unaccounted for to this day. I quote from the Commission's report: "There should be consequence management, including the recovery of the monies lost," unquote. Has this happened? The answer is no. Again, I quote from the Commission's report: "The role played by Ambassador Dlomo, Mr. Mashlobo, now a Deputy Minister, Mr. Arthur Fraser, and other people involved in the handling and distribution of SAA's money should be looked into by the law enforcement agencies," unquote. Has this happened? Again, the answer is no. Further issues highlighted by the Commission were the abuse of the vetting system, the misuse and disappearance of SSA firearms, and irregular recruitment and appointments to intelligence services. And Chair, regrettably, none of these issues have been resolved to this day. But Chair, whilst there are many dark clouds on the horizon, it is thankfully not all doom and gloom. Defense intelligence is a commendable example of the creative use of limited resources in order to meet the requirements of their legislative mandate. Like all our intelligence services, DI suffers under immense resource constraints, both human and capital. Yet, the manner in which DI has taken on the responsibility of the largely unfunded mandate of Cyber Command is highly commendable and should serve as an inspiration to others grappling with dwindling resources. Lastly, Chair, whilst most government entities continue to produce poor financial results, there's one shining example that stands out above the rest: the Financial Intelligence Centre, the FIC. For the previous financial year, the FIC has received a clean audit from the AG, and for this they deserve our respect and appreciation. Apart from their normal work, the FIC is also doing sterling work in the efforts to get South Africa's grey listing rescinded. And we should congratulate the FIC not only for their diligent use of taxpayers' money, but also for the work they are doing in getting South Africa off the grey list. Finally, honourable members, I wish to express my appreciation to the men and women in our intelligence services who battle along regardless, patriots of high integrity who continue to do their work under daunting circumstances. The overarching mission of our intelligence community is to ensure that all South Africans are safe, free, and prosperous. It is high time that the policies and the decisions of the executive enable and not undermine the achievement of this goal. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We invite the Honourable Munyai to take the debate forward. Thank you, Honourable Member, and order.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, the Honorable Minister in the Presidency in Chabeni, and Deputy Ministers, members of the JCI, SSA Acting DG, Ambassador Msimanga, Chief Defense Intelligence, Lieutenant General Kagato, together with all General, NICOC Acting Coordinator, Intelligence Community, distinguished guests, and the people of South Africa. Honorable House Chair, firstly, it's important that the people of South Africa ignore the pseudo speeches which were nothing but a barrage of propaganda aimed to undermine the state and its credibility and the ministry. Today, we lower our banners in salute and solemn tribute to our fallen heroes and heroines, the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in the Democratic Republic of Congo under the clearly defined UN and SADC mission in the context of AU Agenda 2063 in silencing the gun within our region. We rise in support of budget vote 8, not just a mere allocation, but as a covenant with the people of South Africa, a cornerstone and commitment to defend our national security, safeguard the sovereignty, secure our future, and uphold the territorial integrity in accordance with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The Defense Intelligence is an integral division of South African National Defense Force that carries the critical responsibility of collecting, analyzing, and disseminating intelligence that empowers our military leadership to act with the highest degree of precision, foresight, and resolve. To the patriotic men and women of the intelligence community, at DI, SSA, Sub-CI, your nation sees your sacrifice and relentless effort in service to protect our motherland, the Republic of South Africa. To this end, let's act not with words, but with resources, direction, and focus as united patriots across all political spectrum to build intelligence capability worthy of South Africa's future. As we commence a strategic planning cycle for the year 2025 to 2030, anchored in the medium-term development plan, defense intelligence remains steadfast in aligning its mission with the key priorities of government.
Our collective goal is the construction of capable, ethical, and developmental state, one that serves the interests of all South Africans, national interests of all South Africans, with a strategic resolve and a transparency and accountability. In the spirit, the Defense Intelligence has strengthened its governance framework, embedded rigorous internal controls and transparent systems within its 2025-2026 annual performance plan, thereby reinforcing the foundation of good governance. The strategic output of the Defense Intelligence over this period are clear: to deliver timely, accurate defense intelligence, robust counterintelligence capabilities, and effective defense diplomacy that support the Department of Defense. Our vision is resolute: a well-governed, sustainable intelligence services that underpins the national security, that contribute to peace and stability in our region, as I said earlier, in the context of Agenda 2063, AU Agenda 2063. However, House Chairperson, the vision faces significant challenges. The reality of a declining resource base threatens to erode the capabilities that were built over a period of time. Defense intelligence allocations is approximately only 2%, which in our view, it's insufficient to meet the demands of increasing complex security environment. The budget of 2025-2026 falls short of what is required to maintain operational and readiness to attract and retain skilled personnel and modernize critical technological infrastructure. House Chair, in today's rapid evolving defense landscape, cyberspace has become a critical battlefield where our nation's sovereignty and security are fiercely contested. It is imperative that we strengthen and sustain this robust cyber command as a vital technology force multiplier. The battles of the future will be won and lost on the strength and resilience of our technological infrastructure, as the Minister alluded, including the robust advanced early warning systems, motion sensors to provide intelligence-led and situational analysis awareness. These capabilities will enable to anticipate the threats and respond with military precision. As we move forward, deploying a cutting-edge cyber and electronic warfare tools is non-negotiable to protect our democratic institution, upholding our constitution, safeguarding our nation's authority and security for generations to come. To underscore the point, you cannot fight tomorrow's warfare with yesterday's tools. House Chairperson, despite a clear warning from the Joint Committees, JCI, and Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans during the 6th Parliament, and subsequently a joint letter to His Excellency the President Ramaphosa in his capacity as a Commander-in-Chief in May 2023, no meaningful reversal in this budgetary decline has been achieved. This budget shortfall comes despite an urgent strategic demands of the day and linked with national security, particularly the mandate to develop and maintain the operational needs. Meanwhile, the DI is stretched beyond its limit. An aging workforce, a natural attrition, and mobility exit mechanism are eroding the institutional knowledge and operational capacity. Recruitment is ongoing, but slowed by financial constraint, delaying the restoration of the skills and expertise. Lack of significant technology investments worsen the challenges in this regard. Yet in the face of adversity, the men and women in the defense intelligence, under the exemplary leadership of Lieutenant General Mkagato, and as well as under the command of Acting DG Ambassador Msimang, have demonstrated unwavering dedication, innovation, and professionalism. Their commitment is a testament to the resilience and the spirit that defines security services. The spirit of dedication and integrity in the DI represent the hope that must be upheld across all intelligence agencies, especially as we urgently renew the crime intelligence. The Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence remains resolute and rigorous on our oversight to ensure that this transformation is executed with utmost seriousness and integrity to stabilize sub-CI. In the upcoming financial year, sub-crime intelligence will focus on advancing intelligence gathering, enhancing crime management, boosting analytical capability, and providing technical support for investigation and prevention. Although funding has increased slightly, additional resources are crucial to fully modernize and strengthen these capabilities. Maintaining good governance in the use of these funds remains a top priority and paramount. In closing, let me be resolutely and clear and unequivocal, Honorable Chairperson. The defense intelligence and crime intelligence are indispensable pillars of South African national security architecture. The threats we face are evolving. So much our response demand. Underfunding, outdated system, governance challenges, leadership instability place this vital institution at risk. To guarantee our future that is safe, just, and prosperous for all South Africans, decisive action is required. Investment in intelligence capability is not an option, but a strategic imperative.
Honorable
Financial support must be pursued
Honorable
with
Nyai,
urgency.
your time has expired.
Commitment that translates into a thank you.
Your speech was flat, completely flat.
Honorable member, that is grossly out of order. Honorable, the Minister in the Presidency, Honorable Chabeni, it's your opportunity to respond to the debate. Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Let me start with to respond to those who dealt with substantive issues related to the budget debate today. Honorable Hadebe and Honorable. No, you will not fall in that category. Raise the question of why the budgets of state security are kept secret. And let me give some few of the reasons. It's a national security issue because it prevents adversaries from gaining insight, which will disclose what is spent on specific operational matters. So if we then put it out there, they will know what we are procuring because that is already known. It is also for operational security. Knowledge about our budget allocations can help the hostile states or people who are opposing us or non-state actors to deduce the scale, focus, and even geographic reach of our operations. So that on its own is the reasons why this budget is kept secret and must remain classified, because then on its own it threatens national security. And it's for that reason that we have improved the mechanism of transparency, sharing what we do in these public platforms, and also getting the IG cooperation, more cooperation with the IGI, Office of the IGI, and also the Auditor General. And in that regard, let me then go back to those who were raising non-issues. The Zondo Commission, the high-level review panel, were set in place to deal with the misnorm, with the misconduct, with the all bad things that were done under the leadership of the leader of your own party. And the Gupta Inc. So if we want to cast aspersion, let's do it broadly. Let's then move on to the next issue that was raised by Honorable Trollip, raised an issue of why we're releasing the NSS only now and the NIE now. We had to go into consultations because even the declassification
And we kept on saying we are consulting. Even the classification was an issue of what to release. It is a first in this Republic of South Africa since 1912, not even since in 1994. It's the first that the National Security Strategy gets released and the National Intelligence gets released. So we needed to make sure that we tick all the boxes, we cross all the I's and we cross all the T's and we dot all the I's. But we are releasing them now and we've given guidance on what to do. And then there was an issue raised about by Honorable Swartz around RICA. When the RICA bill, which members of the 6th Parliament had to fast track was done, we raised a concern that that RICA bill was not substantive enough, will not address the challenges we had. Parallel to that process of developing the RICA amendments from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, there was then a task team that was going to look at the comprehensive review of the RICA itself. And that task team did work until June last year. And immediately when Parliament was going to pass, they stopped the work and they'd gone so far. Our argument has always been finalize the comprehensive review because that's what's going to be meaningful. The one that was fast-tracked does not go far enough. It is for that reason in my address, I indicated that the Office of the Interception Centers have started to develop a draft legislation to deal with bulk interception and interception from the national security point. As you're well aware that RICA on its own is for the it's mostly for civilian control and oversight. And even in the Amabongane judgment, the judge indicated that the state security agency must develop appropriate legislation that will govern interceptions for national security issues. And we are indeed implementing the Zondo Commission report and we submit progress report. I think a month ago we submitted progress report to Parliament and we have undertaken that we're going to submit again every quarter, including in cabinet. Though it's not the work of this commission, of this SSA, is the work on my other capacity as minister in the presidency. And we have to table the reports and we'll continue to submit the copies of those reports to Parliament. If I had the latitude of time, I'll give a breakdown on the progress in implementation of that report. So there's no misnomer in a commission that has been set with timeframes and clarity. Then there were others who were claiming what you called integrity. And then I don't know if I need to go and dig up on point, given that Honorable Kola has gone to 16 years ago in Bapalabura and she's not even finished with facts and she's making judgment. And I thought the NPA does not investigate, is the other agencies that investigate. The NPA only take decision. But what gets me scared is that Honorable Kola says she knows what they are investigating. I don't even know myself who is allegedly being investigated. So that is the real capture, Honorable Kola. I think we need to get into that commission to explain how do you know what they're investigating when myself was being investigated does not know. And also, Kola, I didn't think you would fall for fake news, but sure, I am amazed that you could fall for fake news at that level. And what we are going to do for the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, we are going to bring the skills audit report. This allegation that people with skills are leaving SSA is not true. People are sitting with PhDs on anthropology, on all the other things, on witchcraft and all those things, and then you say those are skills. So you must bring me there what you have started to do. And the competency assessment, it then puts it worse to say at a certain level,
Order,
people
honorable
do not
members.
have the competencies. So
Members, honorable members, a minute, Minister. Honorable members, the rules do allow you to heckle, but drowning the speaker is grossly out of order. I would urge you in your conversations and as you heckle, be mindful of the fact that the minister is responding to the debate and do not drown her. Continue, your minute will be adjusted, Minister.
Thank you. Let's then go back to the substantive issues in terms of the implementation of the high-level review panel. I had expected members that they would have been listening. We have specifically indicated that we are implementing the recommendation in terms of establishing a panel by independent legal counsel to deal with malfeasance, and I've reported they've started their work. They've started their work to then aggregate all the cases that have been put in from all the reports, whether it's Zondo, high-level review panel, the other investigations that were done internally, so that they can then take disciplinary action, because that's what the high-level review panel recommended, and also refer others for prosecutorial action, because we don't have the power to prosecute, and that which are criminal will have to be referred back for that purpose, and that's what we are doing. And in terms of the skills, part of the refocusing of the SSA is to, the skills audit helped us to identify the skills gap and say what are the training that are required. And I've indicated that as the academy, intelligence academy, start to reposition themselves, they're also retraining members and also closing the skills gap that are not there. But there are those who are at the lower level who had entered without skills back then during the apartheid period and the amalgamation. We are making sure that their experience is RPL'd so that they can have a qualification. We'll come to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence and provide those level of details in terms of the progress and the rollout plan for that work. We spoke last year when we dealt with the budget vote. We indicated that we finalized for the first time again in the history of this country the National Intelligence Coordination Regulations to enable NICOC to coordinate the intelligence of across. And even in the speech, I indicated that NICOC is developing the capability to coordinate cyber security of the country from the intelligence structures perspective, because there's cyber security in general, but also a coordinated response from the intelligence, national intelligence structures, so that we can build the capacity and multiply the use of resources that we have. So we don't have to set up another cyber command center when the DI has that command center, but we can all work to use that command center to effectively provide the cyber security that is required for the country. And that is the work that we have been doing. I do not know when it said we do not have capacity, there's no change, there's nothing. You need to acknowledge, even when you're criticizing, you need to acknowledge the progress that is being made. Then we all stand here and say, because aspersions have been casted, we expect the president not to follow due process. The president has instituted a commission to follow, not only to follow due process in terms of the allegations made against the Minister of Police, but also to unravel what are the other things that have not been said by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, so that we can then deal with the full cleanup. When you see the national intelligence priority estimates, you will see that NICOC had already directed the decontamination of the criminal justice system from criminal activities, because there was knowledge that those things are happening, but there had to be work in place to be done to decontaminate the system. So the work of the president takes us a step further to say it's not only ourselves, it's also the judge who will then go through and do the referrals. But it has not stopped ourselves from acting in the areas where we need to act to hold people accountable. And that's why the panel continues to do its work. And that's why everyone else is continuing to do the work. That's why even Parliament, the Standing Committee on Intelligence, is doing its work to make sure we come to address the root causes of the issues. And the obsession with the lynching mob of finding people guilty before we have facts, I think it's not fair. What we need to give everybody a right to reply and a right to do.
Honorable Minister, your time has expired. It was adjusted. Honorable Minister, the time was adjusted. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, you are reminded that the debate, vote 2, which is Parliament, will take place in this chamber at 2 o'clock. That concludes the debate and the business for this mini plenary, and the mini plenary may rise.